This is the Cardiff Business School podcast, where we explore the power of public value in everything that we do. My name is Peter Wells. I'm the Pro Dean of Public Value here in Cardiff Business School, and my guest today is Professor Eleri Rosier. Eleri is a Professor of Marketing and Strategy, and she has published and taught in that area for many years. But the really interesting thing about what Eleri does, and the reason why she's with us today, is her activities in two crucial areas for us within the school. One is the support and development of Welsh language within the school, and the second is in the area of international recruitment, particularly for our postgraduate students, where Eleri, her enthusiasm and her energy and her knowledge and her sympathy for those students and their families has been a key part of our drive to recruit and retain those students both now and into the future. So Eleri, here we are. Good of you to join us. Let's just start with the events management piece, because you didn't just sail through academia, you did other things. What did you do in terms of events management?
Academia wasn't my first choice of career. In fact, I had never even dreamt of doing a PhD. I'd studied, did a law degree, I did an MBA after that, thinking that I would go into corporate law. LA Law was my favourite TV programme at the time, and that's what I thought I was going to do. But that's a really difficult area to get into, and I didn't want to end up working in Jones & Jones in Merthyr Tydfil doing, divorces and conveyancing. That wasn't the career I had in mind for myself. And I had an opportunity. I'm from Carmarthen in West Wales, and there was a derelict mansion house just outside Carmarthen on the way to Llandelo that had been rediscovered. Not just the house, but that the gardens were really important, that they had these lavish, amazing gardens that had gone to rack and ruin.
It was just the gardens at Helygan.
Similar to Helygan,
okay.
Absolutely. We took inspiration from Helygan and did a lot of work with a team down there at the Eden Project and Helygan. So this is Aberglasney.
Aberglasney
Garden.
of course.
Yes, not far from the Botanic Garden of Wales,
yes.
Just around the corner, in fact. So I started work there as a marketing officer, first of all, but it transpired to become an events manager role, because what we did, I probably came in towards the end. We had maybe 3 months of construction work left to go, and opened the gardens to the public for the first time as a trust garden that was open to the public. We had to have a big event because such a lot of heritage lottery money had gone into it. Loads of local people had come and helped and volunteered. So that's the first piece of work that I did, was to
interesting.
develop
Are
that.
you a gardener?
Not at all. Not at all. I like being in the garden.
Yeah,
I
I'm
like
sure
gardening.
it's very beautiful, yes.
Yes, but the idea was to make sure that this was going to be a success, that people knew about it. We had a TV programme that followed the development of the gardens, so I was liaising with the BBC on that. We had an author writing a book about the restoration process, so liaising with that as well. So it was proper marketing and launching this big event.
So essentially self-taught then?
Yes, I guess so, because I'd never studied marketing up until that. I guess I'd done one module. In fact, Carolyn Strong, who works with me now, taught me that marketing module. So it was her and her inspiration.
Well, thank you, Carolyn. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Carolyn.
Interesting. So there you are, event marketing. It obviously went very well because it's pretty famous now. How did that then lead to business school and
so I think Aberglasney are actually celebrating their 25th year. 25 years since they opened to the public. So that role was only for 12 months. So that came to an end. And I had an opportunity to study for a PhD at Aberystwyth University with Rob Morgan, Professor Rob Morgan, who's here now, but was at Aberystwyth at the time, who was my MBA dissertation supervisor at Cardiff. He gave me a ring and said, look, I've got an opportunity for a PhD. Would you like to submit a proposal? I know you like studying, you like books. I love reading. I love anything to do with learning. So I jumped at the chance. I'd never considered doing anything like that before, so embarked on a 3-year PhD. I lived at home with my parents in Carmarthen and travelled back and forth to Aberystwyth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which was fun. Yes. It was a really lovely way to re-establish a relationship with my parents as an adult.
Yeah. And that worked out okay?
It did. We're the best of friends, and we had a great time all there together. So I finished the PhD and applied for a lectureship post in 2002 here at Cardiff and was successful.
Yes.
And I've been here ever since.
Yes, and we've been enjoying it, obviously.
Yes. Yeah, it's been a great career path here and I've enjoyed.
Yeah, I mean, your career path has been very interesting because, of course, we hear a lot about the importance of publications and research funding and all the rest of it. But there are many aspects to a modern university and a modern business school that have to be covered. And for us, with our public value mission, we're also very keen to ensure that we reach out to our community. We are part of our world. And that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about, really, because you're a native Welsh speaker. You're passionate about your culture and your language. And I wonder how you've managed to kind of build that into your professional life.
That's a big question.
It is a big question. We have a bit of time.
So I started off like everyone else, publishing from the data that I'd had from my PhD, not really utilising any of my Welsh language skills. There wasn't an opportunity at that time to teach through the medium of Welsh. I did have a couple of personal tutees who were Welsh speaking, so that was the only element of anything that I did that had Welsh in it. So then I think it was towards 2015, so I'd been here quite a long time, that the Welsh standards became a legal requirement for us, and I became the Welsh language officer or champion for the school, being one of kind of only a very few Welsh speaking academics at the time. So that role, although it started off as being kind of compliance based, which isn't quite so fun and interesting, it needed to be more than that. Obviously, coming from a Welsh background, been all through Welsh medium education from the very beginning, I felt we could do more here at the business school. So there was an opportunity to work with the School of Welsh to develop a combined degree. So we now have business management with Welsh.
Okay, and that's within Cardiff University. So it's shared with the Welsh, the School of Welsh and the business school.
Absolutely. Okay. So we worked with the School of Welsh to co-develop. They already had some modules that were business related. So part of the modules that the students study are delivered by our colleagues at the School of Welsh, and the rest then are delivered here at the business school. So it was an opportunity for us to really engage with Welsh businesses, not just in Cardiff, but throughout Wales, who are really looking out for graduates in business who also had Welsh language skills.
Of course.
And the Welsh standards are now law for businesses, and having those people within those businesses, whether large or small, is really important.
Yeah, I guess there's been some demand for the graduates from that kind of program then.
Absolutely, yes. Gone on to lots of great things and lots of opportunities for them to do, not just to work in Wales, but to go beyond that. Those bilingual, multilingual skills are really important beyond our own country.
Yes. So you've been heavily involved in that sort of establishment of that kind of activity. Do you also encourage the kind of teaching of Welsh or is it delivered through Welsh, shall we say?
Yes. So up until this year, we haven't been able to deliver. We haven't had the staff to be able to deliver.
I was just thinking this. You see, we've got a really international staff. And that's fantastic in many ways. But actually, the proportion of Welsh speakers must be relatively small.
It is. I think maybe we have 10
more
to
than
12.
I thought. Okay, that's good. Yeah.
And that's academics and professional services staff. So there are more of us now. We've also got the Coleg Cenedlaethol Cymru, who provide opportunities and funding to pay for staff, pay for resources. So that's been a really impressive way of encouraging the development of Welsh medium provision at higher education level across all institutions in Wales. So for the first time in January, we started teaching on the first ever Welsh medium module here at the business school.
Congratulations.
I know.
I didn't know that. And it's funny because, you're here with me today, but I didn't actually appreciate we'd gone that far down the road.
It's really exciting. So it's Rheoli Busnes Bach, which is small business management. And I can't believe that we've never taught this before. Small businesses make up kind of 99% of our economy in Wales, especially micro businesses. So this module has been really exciting because we've been able to work across the whole school. So there are 4 of us delivering on the module. From all aspects, from marketing, from leadership, to accounting and entrepreneurship, all sorts of different areas. So it's a really exciting way of co-teaching. And we've also got a assessment, which is a case study of a local Welsh business in Cardiff that we've been able to interact with. So hopefully...
Yeah, early days, but I can imagine it's just going to grow and grow.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
you're going to get very busy.
Well, I hope so, in many
Yes,
ways. We've
yes.
got lots of Welsh medium students,
Yes,
many
of
more
course.
than we would think.
Yes.
And although we give them a Welsh personal tutor and they're able to submit their assignments or do their exams in Welsh, this is the first time they can study business module in Welsh. So,
Yes, yeah. Oh.
yeah, it's great.
Excellent. And I think, what this does in some ways is convey the energy you bring to your work. And I've always liked this about you. You're always kind of full of beans. And I see now that there's a logic to your activities in recruitment, student recruitment. And I wonder, did you deliberately set out to participate in that sort of activity, or did somebody come along and say, Eleri, you're the one?
Bit of both, I think. I've been involved with admissions for probably over a decade. I moved from a teaching and research track to a teaching and scholarship track here, which meant that I could do more of the teaching that I really enjoy. I get so much job satisfaction. I love being with students and teaching. So it meant I could do more of that and actually indulge myself in learning more about teaching, how we teach, why we teach the way we do, and actually maybe do some scholarship work related to that. But as part of that role, taking on some leadership opportunities presented itself, and an admissions role was part of that. I'd always enjoyed going along to an open day to have tea and coffee with parents and families coming along with their prospective students. So to be able to do more of that was really interesting for me. And that's grown and evolved over the years. So I'm now the director of our postgraduate recruitment and admissions and have been for over 5 years now, I think.
Yes, it's a hugely important role for us, but it's also a huge role, period.
Yeah. Yes, we've got very difficult times at the moment. COVID was the first obstacle we had. Obviously, students couldn't travel. We have obviously a lot of international students studying at postgraduate level. They couldn't get here. So managing that was a tricky time. And then since then, it's been very difficult with far less students applying to come and study abroad, not just with us here, but this is it's a national issue or international issue. It is. It is. So it's challenging, but I'm hoping that the optimism and the happiness I have in the role kind of helps with.
I'm sure it does. I mean, you've travelled to some of these kind of source locations.
Yes, I managed to travel to China just before the pandemic, so that was my first trip, nice. And then nothing happened for nearly 3.5 years.
Of course.
But since COVID, I've been to India twice and to China again.
So when you're on those kind of visits, what do you do?
I don't stop. I've just come back from 10 days in India where I visited 7 different cities.
7 cities in 10 days?
Yes, lots of...
That's a schedule.
But this is what I'm there for, is to try and visit as many prospective students or offer holders as I possibly can. Mm-hmm. And we try and time these, so it's purposeful travel. So we're travelling at the right times to meet with students at the right point in the journey from when they first apply to when they actually enrol with us in September. Mm-hmm. So the trips are made up of lots of different activities. Firstly, we would meet up with offer holders. And generally, they don't come on their own. They bring their families. They bring mum and dad, brother and sister, sometimes grandparents with them.
So these are individuals who have an offer from us.
They have.
But have not yet arrived, obviously. So what is the purpose of that discussion with them?
There's nothing to stop them applying to lots of different places. So they may be holding offers from several different institutions. Okay. So it's a chance for us to really talk to them in depth about Cardiff. There's only so much they can see in a prospectus or on our website, as much as those resources are great, to actually talk to somebody about what it's really like to live here. What's the weather like? What's the food like? Is it safe? Being safe is one of the main conversations I have, especially with families. It's a big...
And I suppose,
thing to send your child
it's
abroad.
Interesting that you should go. I mean, you're a full professor. You're a esteemed academic. Well, I say it in all seriousness because a lot of institutions don't send out professors. And Does that make a difference, do you think?
A huge difference. I think it's meaningful to a prospective, I'm going to say family rather than just student, that someone is there that is going to be here when their student, their daughter or son comes over here. I will be here. I will be able to take them for a coffee. I will be able to make sure that they're okay. But I'm also really able to tell them what it's like to be here. I've 22 years of experience of living here, of teaching here. I think it makes a big difference. We do have some amazing in-country staff now. Since COVID, we've really invested in reducing the number of trips we need to make to these countries by having in-country teams who know a huge amount about Cardiff.
There's so much to learn, isn't there?
Goodness me, they impress me every time I go to a recruitment fair with them. The amount of knowledge. I know a lot about our business school programs, but they know about everything else, from engineering to medicine to architecture. It's impressive. But to have us there with them, I think, makes a real difference.
Of course. And where does public value figure in this for you?
It's part of everything that we do now, I think. It's certainly how I start off when I'm talking to a prospective student or family. I tell them about our public value ethos here at the business school, how that infiltrates into everything that we do, from how we cater to students, not just how we teach or how we research. It's everything here that we do, from the fabrics that we use, from the sofas that we're sitting on. Everything has that public value ethos. And it sets us apart. It certainly does from a lot of the other offerings that they have. We can really feel global warming. We can feel the impact. Everyone's talking about sustainability.
You must have felt it in Delhi.
52 degrees when I left.
52 degrees.
Which is not something I've ever experienced before. So, they're certainly living it there. So it is part of their agenda. It's at the forefront. So if we're telling them that we're embedding that in everything that we do here and that they will leave as graduates having that ethos embedded in their teaching, then I think that really helps them to set themselves apart when they're going into the jobs market afterwards.
Indeed, and they have to be equipped for the kind of challenges that are coming their way. And it's more than just running a successful business or indeed any organisation. Yeah. Having that wider sense of contributing to solving these bigger challenges. I think a country like India, China, they have, of course, there's an enormous rate of economic growth. There's huge changes going on in those countries. But at the same time, they face some enormous challenges. So hopefully your activities will identify those students who could most benefit from this kind of education.
Absolutely. And it's important for us to learn from them and having them in our classrooms, bringing that perspective, bringing those different ideologies to what we talk about in the classroom. If we want change to happen, we need to think differently. So then we need to have different views, opposing views, to challenge those in the classroom.
I've been struck by how much I've learned from our students who come from all over the world, especially on the MBA program, but also others, where, you get some really eye-opening conversations sometimes. You
do. It's not just about them coming here to learn. It's about us learning together in the classroom. It's not just that one-way thing, is it?
No.
Even with undergraduate students, you want to have those conversations. We want to try and draw out from each other those different perspectives so that we can think differently. Something has to change, doesn't it?
It does.
If we can do that here to some extent, then all to the good.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I get a sense of your very strong grounding in Wales, and yet it in no way inhibits your international perspective.
Yes, I guess that's something as Cardiff University we really need to rein. It's that essence, isn't it? What you've just described is that we are strongly grounded here in Wales, capital city, small minority language and culture, but yet we can hold our own internationally. We've got a lot to give. Also, people can learn from us here too. So, I think we need to try and engage that essence a bit more.
Yeah, interesting. You've brought along what can only be described as an elephant.
It is a yellow elephant with bright blue ears. And I bought this the first time I visited Delhi. It's from a lovely company. The name is on the label here, Craft House, which really encourages female entrepreneurs who are working in the arts and crafts industry in India. And all the materials are either recycled or eco-friendly and fair trade. So it kind of embodies what we're trying to do in terms of public value, but also my international recruitment trips and the delight I had at finally being able to go to several different cities in India. I've taught Indian students for so many years and they always say, you must come to India, you must come to my city or my village. And now I finally got to go there and experience it firsthand, which I felt was quite an honour. But it's also yellow in colour, hopefully to try and embody the kind of happiness and enthusiasm I have for my job and my teaching.
Yes,
I really enjoy it. So I'm drawn to these kind of bright colours in the hope that I make my teaching full of bright, happy things. I always try and think about the fact that teaching shouldn't be dull and serious and boring.
We must entertain.
Absolutely.
We're like the BBC. We educate and inform, but we also entertain.
That's very good. I've never thought of that before, but it's true.
Yes.
And my family think it's hilarious that I've ended up teaching, because the one thing I always said when I was a child that I never wanted to teach, never wanted to do anything like that. So having had to teach as part of my PhD, I was terrified, absolutely terrified of going into a classroom. I nearly walked away and got in my car and drove home. The very first one I had to do. I think there were 100 students in a room and I could hear them all in there.
Yes, waiting for you. Yes.
Oh, my heart was thumping and I really didn't want it to have anything to do with it. But now it's my favourite thing of all and I love it.
And communicating generally, I suspect. I mean, here we are in a podcast, you seem equally happy. So, well, what can I say? So thank you very much, Eleri. It's been a pleasure. This has been the Power of Public Value podcast from Cardiff Business School. Today, we've had Eleri Rosier as our guest, and she's been telling us about her work in terms of supporting and developing our Welsh language activities within the school, but also her really impressive activities in getting out there, meeting students all around the world, and doing her best to convey the sheer delight that she has in both teaching and welcoming those students to Cardiff. Thank you very much.